Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Healing Place podcast. Teri Wellbrock here, your host of the show. Just wanted to say, first of all, thank you for being a part of this healing space. I so appreciate everyone who joins me. The numbers continue to grow. Hit another record month this month. Also hit a record month of downloads last month. We're being listened to in 104 countries around the world now, which still just blows me away. And I do a happy dance every time I look and see who's tuning in. So very grateful. If you can continue to spread the word, either share videos from the YouTube channel, which is Teri Wellbrock under my name, invite friends, just help spread the word about this show and these amazing guests that are joining me. I very much appreciate the support, so thank you. And today's guest, another wonderful interview. I feel so blessed to be doing this show and to have these inspirational people join me from all around the world. I learned so much myself for my healing journey as well. This episode was recorded in June. That's another wonderful thing that's happened. I have 60 people on a waiting list. So it is just blowing my mind how many folks keep reaching out, wanting to join me on the show. And I wish I could do this show daily. I just don't have the time or resources to do it on a daily or even bi-weekly basis. But I love it that so many folks are wanting to join the Healing Place podcast and reach you and talk to you about hope and healing and strategies for living a more tranquil and joyous life. So, all right, my health is improving. Yay! We did discover that we had mold in our newly purchased home. We only moved here a year ago to Hilton Head Island, South Carolina, which is paradise and beautiful. But we had found out there was mold and it was covered up by a previous owner, not sure which one. And we were told that they did a shoddy job in covering it up and fixing it. So I have mycotoxin poisoning and am starting to do a lot of detox work, and it's helping infrared sauna and halotherapy, and which is like pink salt therapy, and taking supplements to help with detox, such as liver support supplements, and as well as I was taking some activated charcoal to try to grab a hold of the toxins and any mold that might have, this is so weird to think, but it can colonize in the body. And that creeps me out just a little bit, I have to tell you, to think something has colonized inside of me. But as so many of you know who have listened to this show and know my story of triumph, is that I never give up. And so I'm still of that mindset. Interestingly enough, and I know I'm talking a lot, but I had some things to share. One of the effects from mold exposure can be anxiety and depression, and it can have an effect on the brain because it can get into and colonized in the fatty tissue in your brain. And so I just find it fascinating. I'm learning so much, researcher by nature, and so I'm researching this like crazy, trying to find out all I can for healing possibilities. And so so I'll probably write some blog pieces on it and maybe do a show or two. But I love it that my histamine intolerance, I now know where that's stemming from mold exposure and mycotoxin poisoning. So that is starting to come under control. I'm introducing some new foods again. We had the mold remediation done in our house, a new roof put on our house, found lots of water damage up in the attic from 3 gaping holes apparently in the roof that should have been found during inspection. So, it's been a lesson learned, let me tell you. But again, I say to all of you, no matter what you're going through in life, never give up. Keep on fighting. Keep believing in yourself. Keep searching for answers. Keep asking for answers. Keep reaching out and asking folks for guidance, and whether that be your doctor. I work with my doctor as well as a nutritionist. Anything I can to help me along this healing journey, and we are all worthy of healing. So, all right, now for the show. Welcome, everybody, to the Healing Place podcast. I'm your host, Teri Wellbrock, and so excited to have with me today Carolyn Colleen. She is the founder of F.I.E.R.C.E, mother of 3, author, international speaker, entrepreneur, and business strategist. So welcome, Carolyn.
Yes. Hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We met another great pod match connection, which I keep talking about pod match and how wonderful that's been to really find people that were outside my normal sphere of trauma recovery. And so it's just been great to connect with other people who really can resonate with the audience and touch upon things that aren't the normal talking points. So yeah, just do a quick little intro of who you are and the work you're doing in the world.
Yes, so I'm glad to be here. And like we chatted a little bit before we got on the call, I am the proud mother of 3. And I'm also an entrepreneur. And I've written a book. I'm writing my 2nd book. And I have 3 different businesses. And I've created my life by design in a space that I didn't realize. So, I came from a lot of trauma and abuse in my youth, and then also continued on to my adulthood, and being able to navigate through stress resilience, which is part of what FIER stands for. I've been able to now live a life fulfilled, and it's been a journey, and every day is a journey, but it's continuous. It's been beautiful in being able to continually live my life on purpose.
Yes, and I love that philosophy, and I love it that you say every day's a journey, because I'm always saying that we're all on our own healing journey, and it's not that we get to looking to get to the end like a destination. It's the traveling that journey and learning along the way that it really is a gift.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you want to share any part of your personal history with trauma?
Well, with this audience, and you know what, quite honestly, I share because I feel that it opens the door for others in order to just know they're not alone. And so, for me, in my very short lifetime, I'm only 42. I started with sexual and physical abuse starting at age 4 from both men and women. And that created the way I saw the world. I saw the world as I was in it in which to be used, and it was a skewed viewpoint of what love was, and what my purpose was, and what my worth was. And so when thinking back and seeing that little girl at 4 years old, and as I continued to grow and see the world from that lens, the decisions that I made were reflective of how I saw the world. As I grew, I lived in a household with untreated mental health, and that was very difficult. I escaped by going to school. And when my little sister was born, now she's 9 years younger than me, I felt pulled in that, should I be home to help take care of my sister, make sure she's safe, or go to school to escape? And that's a lot to deal with mentally for a young child. And so sometimes I'd stay home and help take care of my sister, because my mother, she struggled with a lot of untreated mental health challenges, to where she wouldn't get out of bed for days. sometimes she would disappear for days. And my dad worked on the road, so for most of our childhood, he didn't live at home. He sent money home. So he was unaware of a lot of the things that were happening. And my mother was a hoarder, and she was also very kind. She was, I mean, there's ups and there's downs and there's all arounds. Yeah. And sometimes it's great. And there's that saying, sometimes, with untreated mental health, sometimes it's good, and sometimes when it's bad, it's really bad. And the waves and the ebbs and flows, navigating that as a child, looking back, the things that I can pull from that as a perspective, that now in my career, now as I look at the world, I'm very flexible. I can go and I can do things, and I can be in spaces, and I pull out what is it that I gained from the experience of the ups, the downs, and the all-arounds, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And growing up, in my teenage years, was very also challenging, is really the word I can say. For example, I had my first boyfriend, and you know how that is, that puppy love. You have your first boyfriend, and it's so much fun. And then with the weight of my family, home environment, and the weight of the world, and being a teenager, and then having a first boyfriend and breaking up with that boyfriend, because that's what happens. That's right. That's pretty normal. But for me, it was a skewed vantage point, a skewed view of what the world was, and I chose to take 25 sleeping pills to try and end my life. Oh. And I woke up in the middle of an emergency room with doctors surrounding me, trying to put a tube down my throat to pump my stomach. And I lived, and they put me in a 72-hour hold. And when I returned back home, I was ashamed, I was angry, and I came back to my little sister, who at that point I think she was 8 years old. And she was so angry at me. She was so angry in that, I was her protector. Yeah. And I tried to leave. And I remember walking into our bedroom and crouching down and hugging her and promising her that I'd never try and leave her again. And I didn't. I never tried to take my life again. However, I still made choices reflective of what I thought love was. And I ended up, just a couple years later, in an abusive relationship and pregnant. And so I became married and in an abusive marriage. And again, it was really reflective of how I saw the world and what my worth was. And once my daughter was born, however, I remember exactly, she was born colicky. Oh. So if you know what colic is, and if the audience might know, it's basically you go to the doctor and they have a crying baby that doesn't stop crying, and they say good luck, because there's no solution for it. Right. And she had been screaming and crying for 2 months. And I remember it specifically. For 2 months, I had been in an abusive marriage where my husband was barraging me with constant questions. While, mind you, I have a brand new baby, haven't left the house, and he's accusing me of cheating on him. He monitored my time. He monitored everything that I did, even all the way down to going to the bathroom and what I ate. Wow. And so I'm sleepless from a crying baby, and I'm also sleepless from trying not to fall asleep, because then I was, a bad wife and a bad mother. And so I was exhausted. And there I am at 2 months old, rocking my little baby, and she's screaming. And of course she's screaming also to do with the environment. Yeah. My husband was very good at telling me how much I needed to improve, and with screaming matches, one-sided ones, and it was exhausting, and I couldn't barely think, which was part of the environment and the manipulation. And so 4 a.m., there I am rocking my little girl in my arms, and I am at my wit's end. And now, mind you, I promised my sister I'd never, ever try to harm myself again, but I didn't know what else to do, so I started to pray. And I prayed saying, if there's anyone out there, just send me a sign, anything. And at 4 o'clock in the morning, as I was rocking her, she stopped crying.
Oh.
And she looked me directly in my eyes as if she was looking into my soul. And she was saying to me, I'm your sign.
Oh.
And as the tears rolled down my face, I realized what love was, which is unconditional, and what love wasn't, which is unending self-sacrifice and suffering. And in that moment, I decided that I needed to find a way to escape my marriage, escape the abuse, because I knew, fast forward 18 years, if I had stayed in that relationship, my daughter would be marrying a version of her father. Statistically, young moms have have children who have young children, and then, men or women who are in an abusive relationship, their children tend to follow suit. And I didn't want that for my daughter. And so I plotted a way to escape. I did so not because of the love for myself, but for the love of my daughter. And it's because sometimes when you're struggling, and I was struggling with depression, I was struggling with PTSD, I was struggling with flashbacks from the sexual abuse from the men and women who came out of my life as a child, and it was so hard. But I had to figure out a way. And what I did is I borrowed the love that I had for my daughter until my self-love caught up. And I did that, and I made scary, scary moves in which to create a life for my daughter, not for me, mind you. I didn't feel that I was worthy of anything better, but my daughter sure was. And so that's where I found myself standing in line at the Salvation Army, trying to patch together food pantry to food pantry in which to escape and create and be able to feed my daughter and myself. At that time I wasn't employed. I was a stay-at-home mom. And I did so. I patched together food pantry to food pantry. I went into low-income housing. I registered myself in college. I worked 60 hours a week, and I hustled. I hustled and I hustled, and I built my career, and I continued to grow in therapy, and I sought resources in order to create that life for my daughter until, as I realized, I started to grow too. And I did. I built my career, and I built a life for my daughter. And fast forward, I'm there standing outside a food pantry with my daughter, giving back, and all the way to becoming a PhD in 1 month in order to serve others and give back. And it's been, and now my daughter, she's 22, and I've been able to release her into the world and allow her, she has no other worries besides, okay, well, what's next semester at college look like?
Yeah.
and it's been so fulfilling being able to create a life from the darkness.
Yeah.
And continue to grow. And I didn't stop there. I didn't stop. I kept going, and I used a tool that I created, practicing it 5 minutes at a time, building stress resilience, which is what F.I.E.R.C.E is, in which to grow, set a goal out a year ahead, set a goal out 5 years ahead, reverse engineer it down to 5 minutes to combat the emotion of anxiety, stress, overwhelm, depression that I struggle with, so that it doesn't own me. So I own it. Now, is it valid that I struggled with depression, struggled with anxiety, struggled with overwhelm, fear, flashbacks, PTSD? Yes, all of those things. And those emotions are very valid. But the action that followed did not have to determine where I ended up. And so I used that emotion in which to fuel me in a direction that served me. Because there's that difference between, when you come into a fork in the road, any hero or heroine they have the same fears. They have the same doubts. They have the same self-limiting beliefs about what they can accomplish. But the difference is what happens after the emotion is action. And so I was able to create a tool that helps me make the choice that serves me, even though there's that emotion, even though there's that thought, even though there's that self-limiting belief. And so now I've been able to create successful businesses. I have been able to become an entrepreneur in which to be able to give back. I also have lead a nonprofit and to give back to those people who helped me and pay it forward. So that's kind of my story, and that's where I'm
Wow.
at right now.
And thank you. It's so powerful and beautiful, and so many things that I resonated with, being a survivor myself. And just kudos to you, and so much admiration for that. I say it, it's one of my favorite hashtags, hashtag never give up.
Mm.
And you're the poster child for hashtag never give up. And yeah, beautiful. And what a gift to your daughter, which then really transformed into a gift for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yes. And
beautiful.
yeah, she doesn't know the things that I've been through, and it's because of that hard choice I had to make. Because if it were just me, I would probably still be right there.
Right.
So, um, and also moving forward, being able to lean into giving back. So there are, people will say to me, you know what do I do? What do I have a cousin or a friend who's struggling with depression or struggling with anxiety or struggling just in life in general, because life, life doesn't get easier. I feel. I think that we learn to navigate it better. And there's this concept of you're either just coming out of a storm in your life journey, you're in a storm, or you're on your way into a storm. It's kind of the three stages. And it just kind of continues on this beautiful journey called life. And as we move into a storm, and then while we're in a storm, we develop tools. We learn how, we're in this boat in whatever vehicle you're using, and you figure out how to navigate it better. So then when you come up to the next storm, you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to use that from 2 storms before.
Right.
And and you just get better. You're sharpening the tools.
Yeah.
And so yeah, navigating this life, it's been interesting. And yes, I feel that it doesn't get easier. It's just you learn better. When you know better, you do better. Just like I think it was Maya Angelou said that. When you know better, you do better. And I did the best that I could with what I knew, and I just continue to grow and learn and see this life as a way to continually add on. And then other people will say, okay, what do I say to people who are struggling? What do I say? And I'm like, you don't really have to say anything. The most powerful thing that happened for me was people who would smile and look me in the eyes in my darkest points and just acknowledge me as a human. That was so um, just transformational in my journey, is that there are people who care. They don't have to have all the solutions, but just to see the goodness in humanity sometimes, all it is making eye contact and giving dignity to another person, and maybe even smiling. You don't have to say a thing.
Right.
And when I look back, and I was writing my book, and I wanted to be able to give back to all the people that did do that, and honor that, because sometimes when you're struggling, particularly in that depressive state, it's hard to see anything good, or to look back and see anything good. And practicing just one thing you can be grateful for every day, and practicing that helped me elevate from the dark places and those ebbs and flows. Um, and some people would say, "Hey, you know what? You got this, Carolyn. I'm struggling. I'm working 60 hours a week as a single mom in low-income housing on welfare, um, trying to escape this circle. It's a horrible circle, and trying to escape it. It's like a conundrum. It's so hard to try and figure out how to get out of it.
Right.
And then I'm, going to school and trying to build a career at the same time. And people would say, "Oh, Carolyn, you got this. We're so proud of you," or "You can do this." And I thought, well, that's great. You think I can, but I sometimes you have to borrow the light that others see in you
Yes.
until your fierce light ignites. And I had to borrow what other people saw in me because I'm like, nah, that's not me.
Right.
And it was really hard,
Yeah.
to see that I did have potential, and to own that, just because of all of the, just all of the crap I had to deal with in my childhood, and then it turned into how I talked to myself. And so when I did that, when I borrowed the light that others saw in me, my fierce light did ignite over time. Uh, and really taking that practice of celebrating those small steps and those small wins in which to gain confidence, um, and gain even more momentum. And so now being able to, when I published my book, the proceeds of my book went back to the community that helped uplift me.
Oh.
And so all the proceeds get donated back. Because there's no way I can find all those people, those people that just smiled at you,
Yeah, it's
and it was
validation.
genuine.
Just
Yeah.
yeah, the validation. Yeah. So
Hmm.
talk to us about fierce. What is fierce? I love
Yes.
that there's a t-shirt. I saw it on your website.
Ah, yes. Because it's a combination. So it is an acronym, but
Okay.
it's also a combination of being able to, nobody, like, there's no one on earth that's just okay all the time. We
Right.
have we have so many things that happen in our lives. Just give ourselves some grace, but come from a space of power. Now, when you're in a space of fight or flight, when you're fearful, we tend to fight, flight, or freeze.
Hmm.
And honoring that it's okay if your fight, your flight, or your freeze, whatever that is, acknowledge it, give yourself some grace, and then think about the action that follows the fight, flight, or freeze, because that's the key. And so, FIERCE stands for focus breath, identify one, so focus breath, breathing, which is very important, like getting present,
Right.
taking a deep breath, like just like maybe some of us have heard, when we're upset, somebody will say to us, "Hey, just calm down, take a deep breath." So they're right, because with breath, it's actually one. I mean, and many might already know, but it brings down your blood pressure. But it also makes it, with a deep breath. Actually, three is what I teach. Is just at least three deep breaths. What it does is it opens your mind to be able to think a thought. When you're not breathing, when you're upset, you truly, you can't think. And your
Right.
audience can resonate with this because of all the research behind it. But just to make it very simple, when you breathe, you can think. So that's the first step. Then the second step is identifying a goal. So just identify one thing you need to do. Because again, when we are in a space of having to get a lot of things done, or even in a state of emergency, we have a list of 200 things. And what happens is that we tend to pick the thing that's the least important and try to do that to distract us amongst things that we need to get done. And so, like, so how this came about is really where I'm there and I'm standing in line in the Salvation Army, and I'm looking around, all these bright lights and all these people of all different walks of life, and I'm thinking, I don't know if I can do this. And a very endearing person came to me and said, "Carolyn," was a social worker, "you can do this. Just think about it one day at a time." And when she said that, I thought, absolutely not. But I knew I had to move. I knew I had to do something. But I just wanted to crawl in a hole. I was fearful for my life because my husband had promised me he'd end my life if I had ever left. I was fearful for the unknown. I wasn't sure where I was going to get food, where I was going to, what I was going to do.
Right.
And I found out I had to break it down to 5 minutes. So in 5 minute increments, I could muster up enough courage to move just in one direction. And that one direction was putting a smile on my face so that I didn't scare my daughter. Just one thing. And then the next thing was, okay, I need to move in this line in order to get food. Okay, 5 minutes. And then the next thing, okay, I need to sign this paperwork in which to figure out how to get a medical assistance and food stamps. Okay, next step. And breaking it down to just 5 minutes in one goal, one thing. So that's I. Then E is examining the barriers, what's holding you back, what's getting in the way of trying to get to where you're going to. And then R is for reflect. While you're working through the process, reflecting on, you know what, it's okay. Give yourself grace. You've been through a lot, but you're right here, right now. Honor it. And then the next is C for courage. You do have the courage, even though you think you don't. And then E is for engage, taking that action step. And so I package it all into like a 5-minute exercise where you can break it down into 5 minutes. So F.I.E.R.C.E is embodied into 5 minutes. And the key things you want to take away from it is 1, breathe, B, F, focus, and then the last F is fierce action. And so I made it like a mini little fierce, which is BFF, your new best friend.
Oh.
So breathe, focus, fierce action, and do that 5 minutes at a time. Grab that emotion, whatever it is that's holding you back, and use it as fuel. It doesn't mean not feel your emotion, because when we put those emotions in the closet, you know what happens? Kind of tends to blow up. But feel the emotion, honor it, but use it as fuel to determine the decision that follows the action, and practice that 5 minutes at a time. Because when we break it down to 5 minutes, we can do whatever we may not really want to do or we're fearful of 4 or 5 minutes. And then soon enough, that 5 minutes turns into 10, turns into 15, and you're on your journey, you're on your path to something that serves you compared to something that doesn't serve you. There's many different examples. So, when you're struggling with overwhelm, anxiety, people might choose to self-medicate. What is that emotion that's popping up? And what is it that you truly want? Well, you could have two options. You could self-medicate because those feelings are coming up.
Right.
Or you could take those feelings and you could say, you know what, I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to kick out some squats. I'm going to phone a therapist. I'm going to, all these other options that serve you, and do it 5 minutes at a time. So that 5 minutes of distance from the decision that doesn't serve you is another 5 minutes that keeps you in the journey of where you want to be and deserve to be. So that's kind of breaking it down, because when I really thought about it, it was the emotion and then what I was used to grabbing, which didn't serve me. So I had to retrain the way that I thought about it and really like ignite that fire, that fierce fire, because I was very angry. I was very angry at the things that happened to me. I was very angry at the people that did it. And the thing that really resonated with me is, you know what? Yeah, it's okay to be angry. But when I lean into what they believed I was worthy of, which is nothing, and to be used, to be abused, when I take those actions that don't serve me, who's winning? They're winning. And I'll bet you 100% they are not going to win. I will not be a statistic. And so with that, I can vision where I want to be and where I need to be. And I can reverse engineer it down to 5 minutes with every action that I take as I'm navigating through these emotions, choosing an action that serves me, because they are not going to win. So that's what I say to people who are like saying, oh, Carolyn, you know what? I am used to self-medicating. I'm used to, doing self-sabotaging. And that's what I do. And for me, the question is, who's winning? Are the people that abused you winning? Or the people who thought that, well, I can get away with this. Oh no, you can't, because I am going to elevate above and I will not be a victim. And that's where my choices come in. And that is where I've been able to choose a life by design. Um, and not, I will not be a victim.
Beautiful. So people can join you on a fierce journey, yes?
Yes.
Okay. And where do they find you? How do they connect?
So they can connect with me and get my book and hear my speaking and my blogs at carolyncolleen.com.
Awesome. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, there's so much. I mean, I was mesmerized. Normally I'm speaking but your story is just so intriguing and you're just so motivational. So thank you I mean, just what a beautiful message of hope that you resonate. Thank you for that.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
And if people want more resources, I do have a free download of the BFF method, your new best friend. So you can download at carolyncolleen.com. And people are using it. I created it out of survival, but now thousands are using it in order to intentionally choose their life every 5 minutes of every day. And so they can go there and they can download that tool and use it and share it. And I have high school students, middle school students using it. I have men, women, entrepreneurs, all different walks of life using the tool because it's very simple. And you can break it down in order to get more of what you want and less of what you don't.
Yes. Well, it so resonated with me because as a trauma survivor, it can be overwhelm when you're looking at your very long to-do lists for the
Mm-hmm.
day.
Mm-hmm.
And especially someone who's made it through their trauma and now doing the work such as you're doing and I'm doing. And but breaking it down and it's so funny when you just said about sometimes you look at the things you need to do and you gravitate towards those easy ones in order to avoid the other ones. On my list today was to like paint my toenails, and that was like one of the first things I did on my day. And then I knew I was procrastinating to get to the stuff that I really needed to get done, which I have since done. But it just made me laugh inside because I was like, oh my gosh, she so just called me out. I did that today.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's we do it, and it's
right.
human. And then we just reset. We just take a deep
Yeah,
breath, remember what our goal is, and then even though because procrastination is another emotion,
yeah.
and we just do that and do the hard things 5 minutes at a time.
Right. And
Yeah.
so that's what I seriously want. I have a few things left on my list today, and I'm just going to take that 5 minute approach. I love it because it just doesn't seem as overwhelming. And
Yes.
that's really the key is to, you had said a word like I can't remember what you said, but I say all the time that we need to be gentle with ourselves.
Mm.
And you said something very similar. And gosh, I
Grace.
can't believe I can't remember what you said.
It's yeah, graceful. Be gracious with
Graceful, that
yourself.
was it.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
what a beautiful word. Yes, and sentiment. Yes, yeah, awesome. So is there anything else that you wanted to touch upon that we haven't had an opportunity to discuss yet?
I just, I with that 5 minutes, I also want to say make sure you celebrate and give yourself honor and gratitude because like I said before, we have a lot of different places we could be, and the people who are listening to the podcast, they could be in many other places, but they chose to be right here. Honor yourself for that, and give yourself a pat on the back. Congratulate yourself because in order to continue to go on this journey of um, courage and growth, we have to be able to give ourselves credit for what we're doing. Stop. We have to stop breaking ourselves down and lifting each other and ourselves up. And so that's what I would say. I would say make sure that you give space for gratitude and honor yourself for where you are.
Yes, amen and hallelujah. I
Mm-hmm.
I talk gratitude often. What a shift happens in your life when you really start to approach life with that attitude of gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's just been an honor to have you here on the show today. I just feel so blessed. And thank you again for sharing your story of from trauma to triumph. And yeah, so thank you.
Thank you. It was an honor.
All right. Well, everyone, thank you for joining us today on the Healing Place podcast. And remember, until next time, be gentle with yourself. Thanks. Bye-bye. Hey, everybody. Teri Wellbrock again. Just wanted to thank you for listening to the episode today and remind you to visit my website as well as the academy.teriwellbrock.com for the courses. But if you go to my website, teriwellbrock.com, you can sign up for my monthly Hope for Healing newsletter, which is also jam-packed with information and strategies and blog pieces and guest blog pieces and links to shows. And just a great space for, again, healing and hope strategies. Thanks for, again, being here and being a part of this healing space. I very much appreciate you. All right. Bye-bye.